So, let's talk about the Ramayana. It's one of those huge, ancient epics, a story that so many of us grew up with and feel like we know inside and out. But what if I told you the story you know is just the beginning? You see, with any truly great epic, there are always hidden depths, and today we're going to uncover some of its best-kept secrets.
I mean, you know the basics, right? You've got the hero, Rama, the villain, Ravana, the big, epic battle between good and evil. But that's all kind of the surface level stuff. Today, we're peeling back the layers and digging into the fascinating secrets hiding just between the lines of this incredible story.
Yeah, that main storyline is burned into our brains, isn't it? Prince Rama's exile for 14 years, his wife Sita getting kidnapped by the demon king Ravana, and then the massive war to get her back. It's a powerful narrative, for sure. But think of it like this. That's the main highway. Today, we're going to take this scenic back roads and find the amazing stories you might have missed. And that's the real magic of these ancient tales. They aren't just one single plot. They're entire universes. They are just packed with complex characters, crazy curses, and all these forgotten side stories that can totally change how you look at everything. So let's go on a little expedition, shall we? Okay, first up, let's talk about the villain himself, Ravana. When you picture him, what comes to mind? Probably a 10-headed monster, the symbol of pure evil, right? But that's not even half the story, and honestly, it's not even the most interesting half. So this is the question we really need to ask. Before he was the bad guy, before he kidnapped Sita and became Rama's arch-nemesis, who was this guy? The answer is, well, it might just blow your mind. Okay, just look at this contrast. It's like we're talking about two totally different beings. On one side, yep, there's the demon king we all know, the tyrant who stole Sita. But on the other side, you've got this devout follower of Lord Shiva, a brilliant scholar who had mastered the sacred Vedas, and even an amazing musician and astrologer. He wasn't just a brute, he was a bona fide genius. And get this, he didn't just know stuff, he was a creator. He actually wrote the Ravana Samhita, a major text on astrology. He was a virtuoso on the veena, which is an incredibly difficult instrument to master. This guy was one of the most learned people of his time. And you know, that's what makes his fall so much more tragic. He's this great mind undone by his own pride. It makes him a way more compelling character than just a simple monster, doesn't it? All right, so let's switch gears. We've talked about the complicated villain, so now let's talk about one of the greatest heroes, Rama's younger brother, Lakshmana. His loyalty is legendary, but the true story of his sacrifice? Wow, it's a story most people have never heard. So during their entire exile in the forest, Lakshmana makes this unbelievable promise. He's going to protect Rama and Sita around the clock. And to do that, he decides he's just not going to sleep. Not for a night, not for a week, for 14 straight years. I mean, that sounds completely impossible. So how in the world did he pull it off? Just let that number sink in. 14 years. That's over 5,000 days and nights in a row standing guard, never closing his eyes. It's a sacrifice that's almost impossible to even imagine. And as you might have guessed, this wasn't just a matter of willpower. There was a little divine intervention at play. The key to this whole mystery is Nidra Devi, the goddess of sleep herself. As the exile began, she came to Lakshmana, to do her job and make him sleepy. But Lakshmana had other plans. He basically asks her for an exemption, saying, hey, can you just skip over me for the next 14 years so I can protect my family? And she was so moved by his devotion that she said yes. But there was a condition. Sleep is like a force of nature. It can't just disappear. It had to go somewhere. Someone else had to take on his share. And this is the really beautiful and heartbreaking part of the story. His wife, Urmila, who stayed behind in the palace, is the one who stepped up. She agreed to take on her husband's 14 years of sleep on top of her own. So while Lakshmana stood awake, she slept for that entire time, making this quiet, unseen, but equally huge sacrifice. It just adds a whole other layer of depth to their story. From these huge sacrifices by gods and royalty, let's now zoom all the way in on the smallest and maybe the most surprising hero in the entire epic. This story is just a perfect reminder that no act is too small when it's done with true devotion. So try to picture this scene. You have Hanuman's army of monkeys and bears, and they're literally lifting mountains and throwing boulders into the sea to build a bridge to Lanka.
It's a project on an epic, almost unimaginable scale. And right in the middle of all this chaos is a tiny little squirrel. I mean, seriously, what could it possibly do to help?
Well, this little squirrel, seeing this massive effort, just wanted to contribute. So it would run to the water, get its fur wet, roll around in the beach sand, and then scurry onto the bridge and shake all the tiny grains of sand and pebbles into the cracks between the huge boulders. It's a minuscule act, right? But it was done with total, pure devotion. And Lord Rama noticed. He was so touched by the squirrel's heart that he gently stroked its back. And they say his fingers left the 3 white stripes we see on Indian palm squirrels to this day, an eternal mark of honor for the smallest hero of the Great War. So, we've got a complex villain, a shared sacrifice, and an animal hero. What does all this tell us? Why do these hidden stories matter so much? And why do they give the Ramayana so much power? Well, this is really the key takeaway. The true power of the epic isn't just in the big good versus evil fight. It's in these smaller, richer stories. They teach us that villains can be brilliant, that sacrifice is often a quiet and shared burden, and that heroism has nothing to do with size or strength, but everything to do with the heart. And these are just a couple of the hidden gems in the Ramayana. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other secrets, what other forgotten heroes and complicated characters are waiting just below the surface of the stories we think we know so well? Thanks for coming on this little journey with me.